Well, my friend Richard over there got involved in it first and came and told me about it. And so I came along and to see what I could do.
Well, a community garden, it's a green space that's created and looked after by local people, making it sort of a safe and welcome place for everyone.
The fact that it exists captures people's attention, and you'd be surprised at how many different kinds of people want to be involved in different ways.
Oh, this life has knocked me down to my knees.
We need open spaces. We're losing green spaces. Here's one right on the doorstep. A lot of people, a lot of young people around here. Let's bring that to life so they can use it.
Well, I think it is for everybody. It becomes a social thing, but obviously, you know, do a bit of work as you go as well.
Time I get a little bit of that promise.
Our local neighbours here have been very positive about this. I mean, obviously very many people have lived here for decades. They've seen the site become neglected, and you know, they're really happy that something positive's happening here.
And also it's good for people to mix with other people, to come out, and I mean, everybody here's got very different views about what you could do in the garden, so even just discussing it and discussing the ideas, it's enriching, isn't it?
I think everyone's got a vision. That's probably the problem.
And what's yours?
It's mine is that for wildlife comes first, and any horticulture should be done on the permaculture method.
The way it's being done, it's going to be an educational tool as well. Far too many young people, kids in particular, just don't really appreciate where food comes from, how things grow. So this is going to be a learning tool as well, the way the garden's going to be set up, respecting some of the natural habitats.
I think it's really important that we make intense small green spaces in our towns, because wildlife is struggling. A lot of people over the last few years have cemented over their gardens for convenience, parked their cars on their gardens, and this gives a really little oasis for a lot of wildlife to survive between the houses.
And if you just put your arms around me.
Well, we're only taking out the ornamental species. There's some Japanese trees here which are ornamental, and they're not really good for indigenous wildlife. They're quite poor, and they suck out a lot of nutrients. So we're trying to re-establish a sort of species that would have grown on this site in this area naturally for thousands of years. You know.
We had a donation from the Woodland Trust of 420 sort of native and indigenous hedging trees that are good for wildlife. So we've had hazel, birch, oak, rowan, hawthorn, blackthorn. Now we've incorporated those into sort of boundary hedges with the idea that they'll grow ideally between 5 to 9 feet is optimal for wildlife. So they're going to provide sort of shelter, habitat, also some screening as well.
What you really need to do is kick-start the system at a low level. So what you need is habitat piles of old logs and decaying matter, which will give you insects. And those insects then bring in birds, and those birds bring in more birds and small mammals, and you get this whole chain.
I'd love to see a water feature with a space for frogs and toads and so on and so forth. And to see a really balanced environment with lots of weeds left to grow that suit different types of butterflies and bees. And for it to be a very natural, enjoyable space. There's already lots of little finches and small birds. We've seen wrens in here, so we would just give them guaranteed habitat, I suppose.
This is a green lung here. I think it might have been under threat if it was just allowed to deteriorate, and people saying, if we're going to say that's a health hazard, you know, you've got rats or whatever with all the rubbish here. So I think if we can bring it back to life, it makes it much safer than it might have been. But look,
I'm just quite happy to come along and do a little bit of work towards it, yeah. Yeah.
The plan is that we'll have open days when people can come in and and be involved in things. And then as time goes on, as the project develops, what we will do is we'll have sort of supervised opening times. So there's always someone here to make sure that everybody's safe and that it's also being used properly.
This has got to be sustainable, and you need to get the buy-in of local people to make it sustainable.
Which seems to be happening here.
And that's what they're doing. So hats off to the people who brought it about and now making it happen. And it's something I hope is going to be here for years to come and everyone to enjoy.
Human beings are, in essence, quite spiritual animals. I think it's in our genes from prehistory. We want to connect with the cosmos, so we want to connect with the living world, and we feel rested, relaxed, better in ourselves when we're outdoors. And also it's of health benefit, physically doing things. So it has a general mental and physical health and well-being aspect to coming here.
Oh, happy man, yes, a happy man, yeah, for a little while. Be a happy man. I ain't asking for much, just your